What's up, guys? Good morning. It's super early here where I'm at right now, but I just wanted to introduce you to printers. Let's get started. Printers. Cut. Start over. Okay. Damn right, feels good to be a gangster. Printers are the bane of everyone's existence. They can be such a pain in the butt when they don't work. But today I'm going to teach you why is fixing printers worth learning. Printers are still a very important tool of business. Think law firms, medical, accounting, finance, and education. Those type of businesses make a lot of money, and whether they're big or small, they rely on their printers to work. So this is where you come in. I'm going to teach you how to make 100 plus per hour fixing issues related to printers. And in some cases, you can do this while sitting at home in your PJs. All right, so here's a little infographic of the average daily pages printed per user by industry. And I want you to pay close attention to these five industries. The reason being is they're going to become very familiar to you. These are the type of industries you want to focus on because they need IT guys, and there's a huge potential for profit and lifelong work with these type of businesses. So, number one, the law. 2, medical. 3, accounting. 4, finance, and finally education. So if you land any of these type of businesses as clients, you're gonna have just a flow of money coming to you constantly. And law being the number one. If you look, they print between 70 and 80 pages per day per user. All right, so who am I? Well, I'm an IT guy. I've owned 2 computer repair shops and an IT consulting business for over 10 years. I've fixed tens of thousands of IT-related issues, from soldering headphones to fixing iPhone screens when they first came out. I don't do that anymore because it's a mission, but running network cables, setting up cloud servers. Now, not only am I able to fix just about anything, I've also learned how to profit handsomely from my time and expertise. For example, I've spent days in my PJs at home, remoting into 10 clients' machines, spending about 5 to 15 minutes on each machine, and pulling $1,000 at the end of the day. And it was effortless for me because I know exactly what to do and, more importantly, what not to do. Okay? Don't get me wrong, I didn't start out making great money or even having any clients at all. I had to learn the hard way, of course, by teaching myself through trial and error. But my goal with this course is to give you a working knowledge base so you can skip all the errors and go straight for the win, which is be your own boss if you want to, even if it's part-time, make your own hours, earn high hourly income, have free time to do as you please, and feel like a master of your craft. Last but not least, gain the respect that experts get. So, I've done thousands of trainings and dozens of certifications and videos and tutorials, and I've gained all this knowledge. But what I can tell you is simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So, that old saying, keep it simple, stupid. You really don't need to store all this information in your brain. You just need what you need, and then you can rely on Google and you can rely on documentation for things that you don't necessarily need to keep in your brain. So I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to know and nothing more. Okay? The extra stuff, you can Google it. The extra stuff, you can read the documentation when needed. And why would I only teach you what you need to know? Well, with IT, every year 30% of anything changes. So in order to stay current and to know exactly what to do every single time, you would have to just study all day long. And if you're studying all day long, you're not making money. So you need to know the fundamentals, the basics, the mindset, and then you need to know how to find the information effortlessly and quickly, that no one can even detect that you didn't know. So let's move on to the next slide. If I could teach you only 5 things about printing, what would they be? I would teach you to fix the top 5 problems. Number 1, this is the most common thing you're going to get a call for. My printer isn't printing. Number 2, the printer takes too long. And you're going to find that this happens with high resolution images, and I can show you how to get around that. Number 3, paper jams, obviously. Number 4, really bad looking prints. And number 5, and this is kind of a tough one, old age or outdated technology. So, printers have a shelf life. After a certain amount of time, they go bad. And especially when you're using an older printer with a newer operating system, you're going to have issues where the printer's no longer supported, driver just doesn't work. And that's when you have to have a conversation with the person in charge saying, hey, look, it's time to upgrade. And you don't want to have all these like workarounds, because it's just going to cause you to lose. So let's move on. The first problem, my printer isn't printing. Solutions. There's 5 solutions I'll cover, and this was going to fix 99% of this problem. So first, check that you send it to the right printer. I know it sounds silly, but a lot of users aren't very computer savvy, or they don't even pay attention. So first, check that you sent them print job to the right printer. It may be printing to another department or to another printer that doesn't exist anymore, and you want to make sure that that printer, the main printer that user prints to, is set as a default printer. So I'm going to show you that really quick, an example. Let's go. I'll press the Windows key, which is located between Control and Alt, and I'm going to type Control Panel, and I'm going to go to Devices and Printers. Okay, so I'll open up a notepad really quick, and then I will type the winning lotto numbers. Don't look, don't peek, that's just for me. All right, so I'm going to save the winning lotto numbers. I will save it in my documents, and I will send it to print. Now, if I'm just a regular user not paying attention, I might mistakenly send it to the printer in the basement. So I go to print, and there it goes. Now I go to my printer on my desk, and nothing happens. So when you come into a situation like this, you want to check the printer queue. In the bottom right hand corner of your screen on Windows, you're going to see an up arrow to show hidden icons. If you click that, you'll see the menu, and you can double click on the printer icon, which will show you the queue. Now, you can see the name of the printer at the top of the screen, and it says offline. So, clearly it's offline. It's sending to the wrong printer. So in this situation, what you'd want to do is you clear the queue, cancel, and then you cancel again. And now what you'd want to do is you'd want to click on the correct printer, right click on it, and then you're going to do set as default printer. And then when you do that, you'll see it has a green check mark. So if I were to want the Microsoft Print to PDF to be the default, I'd right click and then I left click on set as default, but of course that's not what I want. So I'll put it back to where it's supposed to be. And then, one general rule in IT is that if you didn't test it, you didn't fix it. And when you test it, you want the user to witness that you did test it. That way that there's no arguing later on that you didn't fix it if it breaks again. Okay, so I'll go ahead and send my winning lotto numbers to the default printer, which will have the check mark, and you can tell the user, hey, look for the check mark when you're printing and make sure that that's the one you select. So you go ahead and send it to print, and I'll check the queue, and I can see that it's going to the correct printer now, and I'll just wait. I'll wait for it to go through, and I'll check to see that it did truly print. So I can hear it spooling up in the background because the printer's in the same room, and it printed. And as it prints, you'll see it leave the queue. So boom, problem solved. Let's go back to the next solution. All right, so you're going to check for paper and cables. Now, surprisingly enough, people will call you out saying the printer doesn't work. And I've run into this 100 times where there's no paper. So I literally, go check. I pull the tray, I check, I see there's no paper, or it's the wrong type of paper someone put there. I will put the correct paper in there. I'll do a test print, and I'll walk out of there 5 minutes later and send them a bill for $100, and they're happy to pay me because the work piles up and things are not happening or working. So the first thing you want to do is check to see if it has the correct paper or if it has paper in the tray. And then the next thing you want to do while you're checking paper is to make sure that, if it's connected via USB, that the USB is fully plugged in, or if there's a network cable plugged in, that you can make sure it's fully plugged in, and if there's a network link light, that the link light is illuminated correctly. So that's the next step. And obviously, and it goes, without saying that in order to print, you need a driver on each computer that you're printing from. And the driver, you always want to get it from the manufacturer. You don't want to use the Windows drivers that are already installed. Reason being is that the full driver software from the manufacturer has scanning and troubleshooting and different little extra features that you need. Okay, solution number 3 for your printer. My printer isn't printing. Solution number 3 is just to restart everything. This is a tried and true method that solves so many issues. So you restart the computer, you restart the printer. If need be, you unplug the switch and plug it back in, and you restart the router. And a lot of times that'll fix the problem. Sometimes there's a power issue or some other issue that we don't even know what it is, and it just fixes it. So boom, you're the hero, you fix the problem. They ask you how'd you do it, you say magic, and you walk out and you send them a $100 bill. Invoice for $100. Okay, next, reinstall manufacturer printer drivers. So a lot of times, like you're trying to print, you see that the printer's installed, it's turned on, it's connected to the network, and yet it doesn't print. And you restarted the computer, you restarted the printer, and it's still not working. The easiest solution is to remove the printer in the Windows control panel, download the latest driver from the manufacturer website, and just reinstall the driver. And that usually solves the problem. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you an example of that now. So we go back to control panel, and I like to use this little search bar in the bottom left hand corner, and go back to devices and printers. And I'm literally going to find the printer, right click on it, and remove device. Okay, so I removed it, it's gone. Okay, now I'm going to go into Google, I'll go into Chrome. Let's see here. Go into Chrome, and I'm going to search. I'm going to take the model make, and I'm going to add the words driver download. Okay, so it's going to be Brother MFC L2705 DW driver download. Boom. Okay, this is exactly what you want to do. The brand name, the model number, okay, and then add the word driver download. All right. Now, you're only going to download from the manufacturer website. So if it's brother.com, not driver support or whatever, because sometimes you have like viruses or malware that will come in with these like fake drivers. So you just got to make sure you get it from the source. Now, when you're going to download, it says MFC L2750 DW XL. I don't have the XL. I have the non-XL. So I'll go back and I'm going to search for the one that says DW. Okay, there it is. Click on it. And you follow the instructions on the website. Make sure that your operating system matches. You have to have the correct operating system. If you don't know which operating system the user has, it's really simple. You go back to the control panel. You're going to find yourself going to the control panel all the time, and you're going to look in System, and then you're going to look for the Windows Edition. In this case, it's Windows Home 10. Boom. If it doesn't say 32-bit, it's automatically 64-bit, but of course, under system type, it says 64-bit. All right, so we have Windows 10 64-bit, and that's what it automatically detected. So let's go back. We'll click OK. And then I'm going to click on the full driver and software package. It's going to go ahead and download after I accept the terms. And then I'll just wait for it to download. I'll click open when done. Get a little coffee here. So I always recommend, full driver software. Again, it gives you the scanning capabilities. It gives you the information if there's a problem, if the toner is going low, and if sometimes it'll help you troubleshoot the network or the connection. All right, so I'll minimize the screen. accept, click OK. And we're just going to go through the motions here, you know, the installation wizard, click yes to the terms. Now here you're going to pick whether it's a USB cable connection, wired Ethernet connection, or Wi-Fi wireless connection. In my case, it's a Ethernet. I'm going to click next. And I'm going to go ahead and allow the software to change the firewall port so that I can print without a problem. Okay, click next. All these installations are very, very similar. Now, it cannot find the device over the network, so sometimes that happens, and this is a good example. So what I'll do is I will go to File Explorer, and I'm going to click on the network, and I'm going to see if I can see it, which I do see it here on the network, so it does look like it's active, okay? And if you double click on it, you can see, what's the status, so on and so forth. So it's active, it's asleep right now. I'm going to see if there's a function for me to kind of wake it up. I don't really see anything here. Let me take a look. So I could also possibly see the IP address or how it's connected. Well, obviously it's connected to the network configuration. So I'm setting that to print. And that's good to have too, like the network configuration, see like what's going on, how it's connected, blah, 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 whether it's hardwired or wireless if you don't know. All right, so I'm going to go back now. I'm going to grab the information. 1 second. So I just printed the network config, and I can see that it is hardwired with the Ethernet, and it has the network name. Everything looks enabled. I can see the IP address. Okay, so I'm going to click no. I'm going to specify the node name. Okay, I have the node name here, and that should work really well. So let me type it in really quick. BRN, it's all caps by the way. BRN 3C2 AF4 EAB 357. Okay, let me just double check that. That's BRN 3C2 AF4 EAB 357. All right, it looks like it worked. Let's go ahead and go through the rest of the installation and do a test. Now, again, if you fix something, it's not fixed unless you tested it, and you can't test something unless you've shown it to the user as well. Because if you've seen it working and you walk away and you send them $100 bill or however much, 1,000, whatever it is, and they didn't see it fixed, and then they try to print and there's a user error and it doesn't work, well, it's your fault. The IT guy never fixed it. So, or gal, IT gal. So you always want to print a test, put it in the hands of the user, tell them it worked. Can you see that it worked? Yes. Okay. Now I want you to print. I want you to do a test print, user, so that I know you know how to do it. And then you can watch them do it and make sure they're not printing to the printer in the basement, or they're doing something crazy that's obviously not going to work. So they print, you go fetch the print for them. Let me get that for you, and you bring it back to them, and that's it. Job done. Okay. So now I installed the software here, and I'm not going to restart the computer at this time, but what I will do is I'll go back into the control panel, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I see the printer. There it is. It's back. Okay. So now I'm going to right click, printer properties, and then print test page. And I can hear it spooling up, and it's already printing. So mission accomplished. That will solve 90+% of my printers not printing issues. Okay. Let's go back to the final step, which was number 5. Okay, change windows from public to private. So these are like troubleshooting guides. change windows from public to private, scan the network for the printer, enable printing and file sharing, swap out cable to rule out a bad cable. And if all else fails, then you can call the manufacturer, because there's some weird issue sometimes that the manufacturer is going to know. And a lot of times it's free to call them. I could call Brother right now and say, hey, I have this printer, it's acting crazy, and they're going to help you out. It's free. And sometimes, no matter what you do everything right, you follow all the instructions, and it just doesn't work. And in that case, you don't want to spend too much time on it. I would say don't spend more than an hour and a half on something. If you can't get it in an hour and a half after going through all the steps, you need to tell the person in charge of the printer, hey, this is not good, this is not working, this printer needs to be replaced, and move on. So those are the tips. Let me cover number 5 really quick. So Windows has 2 network modes. One's public and one's private. Public is kind of like shields up. It's more if you're in an area with a lot of other people you don't trust on a local network. And I'll show you now on control panel. Actually, if you type network status, you're gonna go right there. Okay, so it's coming up. Excuse me. Try that again. Network status. Okay, so network status, it says I'm private. Okay, and private's good. Private, it allows for printing. Public, sometimes it'll block the printing. But to change the connection properties, you click change connection properties, and then you can go from public, which is your PC is hidden from other devices on the network and can't be used for printer and file sharing. So, hey Ricky. So, oh man, I have all these notifications. Let me get rid of these. Okay, now, network profiles. So Windows has 2 network profiles. One is public, which your PC is hidden from other devices on the network and can't be used for printer and file sharing. Now, the public network profile happens like if the router goes out and it turns off for like a while and then it comes back on. Sometimes Windows will say, hey, are you on a home or work network? And if you put work, it goes to public. And that'll automatically kill the printer connection. So that's a really good way to troubleshoot. You always want to have it in private. So in private, this is a private network profile. It's for a network you trust, such as home or work. Your PC is discoverable and can be used for printer and file sharing. You always want it on private. If you're on public, you're not going to be able to print. You're not going to be able to use network shares. So that's something just you always want to think about in your troubleshooting steps. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so then the other thing is that if you go into the File Explorer and then you click on Network on the left, if file sharing is turned off and printing sharing is turned off, you'll get like this little yellow pop-up over here, okay? And that's another way that you can go ahead and eliminate it by clicking the pop-up and allowing it. So I'll give you an example of that. If I go back to network status and I go from private to public, okay? There's no save button. You just go from private to public, and you open up the File Explorer, and you click on Network. You see this pop-up. Network discovery is turned off. Network computers and devices are not visible. Please turn on network discovery in Network and Sharing Center. So you click OK, but you don't have to go there. You can just click on the little yellow bar at the top to change it, and then you click Turn on Network and File. Yes, turn on. Okay, so now you see all the devices showed up. You can see, the printer, you can see my computer, my router. So everything is kind of talking to each other, okay? Super important, because without this, you're not gonna be able to print. And a lot of times, like I said, if the router goes out and it comes back on, if it goes down for a power outage and comes back, a lot of times you'll see Windows automatically switch from private to public. And so this is something that it's a revenue generator for us. Like, people are going to be calling, and people are going to be not knowing how to fix these issues, and they're not going to be able to, their work is going to get piled up, they're not going to be able to print, and they're going to call, you're going to come in, you're going to solve the problem, you're going to be the hero, and they're going to happily pay you for your time, okay? And you can do this remotely. You don't need to go in person to do this. Some things, yes, some things, no. but you can definitely do most of it remotely. And if all else fails, you also want to look at the cables. You want to look at the Ethernet cable. You want to look at if it's connected via USB and see, is there any damage to the cable? Does the cable look burnt? Is it crimped? Has it been pulled? There's different little signs you'll see. You might just want to try a different cable. Hey, let me try a different USB cable. And it's not a bad idea to have an extra USB cable in your toolkit, or an extra, a spool of Ethernet you can cut. And I'll be covering that in the networking section later. So, and also in the toolkit section. So that's pretty much what you want to do. Again, if all else fails, call the manufacturer to replace it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for this module here, and then we'll move on to the next most common problem. Thanks for listening.